In our headlines on this Thursday afternoon, September 5th, here in South Korea. During their annual dialogue on extended deterrence this year, Seoul and Washington addressed a counter-response based on the hypothetical scenario of nuclear weapons provocations by Pyongyang around the time of the U.S. presidential election in November. Meanwhile, the Korean economy shrinks 0.2% on quarter during the April to June period of this year, reportedly providing policymakers here with a valid platform to shift their focus to supporting growth momentum. Over in the U.S., a 14-year-old student opens fire at his high school in the U.S. state of Georgia on Wednesday, killing at least 2 teachers and 2 schoolmates in yet another appalling case of gun violence within America's academic arena. Hello and welcome to the Daily Report for this Thursday afternoon, September 5th here in South Korea. I'm Min Sun-hee. Today we start our afternoon newscast with live coverage of President Yoon Suk-yeol's opening remarks at the latest government policy forum with members of the public, this time in the city of Gwangju, where policymakers are seeking to promote high-tech and cultural initiatives. We take you now to the Gwangju Institute of Science and Technology, the venue of today's 28th session, and we'll return to our regular newscast afterwards. See you in a bit.
네, 먼저 국민의례가 있겠습니다. 모두 국기를 향해 서주시기 바랍니다.
Pledge allegiance. Please face the flag.
국기에 대하여 경례.
Salute the flag. At ease.
모두 앉아주시기
Please be
바랍니다.
seated.
네, 그럼 지금부터
We would
28번째
like
국민과
to
함께하는
begin the
인생 토론회를
28th edition
시작하겠습니다.
of Livelihood
먼저
Discussion with the
대통령님의
People.
모두 말씀이
The President will deliver his opening
광주
remarks.
시민 여러분
Hello
반갑습니다.
everyone, the citizens of Gwangju. It's very
제가
nice to see you all.
대통령에 취임한 후
After I took
매년
office,
5.18에
every year
광주를
on
찾고 있는데
May
오늘 이
18th, I
가을의
visit
문턱에서
Gwangju.
이
And
빛고울에
today,
오니까
it
이
is so
고장의
nice to be
아름다운
here
정치에
at this beautiful
빠져드는 것
city
같습니다.
in
저는 올해
September.
5.18 기념사에서
This year, at the May
경제의 빠른
18th
성장을
movement
통해 자유와 복지를
commemoration,
확장하고 행복하고
I made my remarks
풍요로운 미래로
that we
나아가야
have to
한다고
expand the
말씀드렸습니다.
welfare of the people
민주화의
and we
도시
have to
광주가
leap forward
이제
to
첨단
a
기술의
better and
도시,
happier
글로벌 문화
city.
도시로 도약해서
Gwangju has now
대한민국
become
성장의
the
견인차가
global
되어야
city,
합니다.
and it has to be
광주는
the leading force
첨단
of
기술을
the
선도할
advancement
역량을
of the Republic
꾸준히
of Korea.
축적해 왔고
Gwangju has
충분한
accumulated
역량이 있습니다.
its capacities
문화
to
도시로서
lead the
국제적인
country
명성도
as an
쌓아왔습니다.
advanced country, and
이러한
as a
첨단
cultural
기술과
city, it
문화의
also
힘을
has its fame.
융합하면
So,
대한민국
with
발전을
technology
이끄는 세계의 중심
mixed
도시로
together with
우뚝 설
such
수 있습니다.
culture and cultural
오늘 28번째
advantages,
민생
I
토론회는
believe that Gwangju can
이러한
stand
광주
tall as a
발전의
cultural
비전을
city.
나누고
At
여러
today's
현안들을
discussion
함께
session,
논의하는
we would
자리가
like to
되겠습니다.
discuss about this
특히
vision
첨단 과학
and
기술
talk about
인재의
the
산실인
issues
이곳
at hand.
광주
And
과학기술원에서
here at
이
Gwangju
토론회를 열게
Institute
돼서
of Science and
더욱
Technology,
뜻깊게
that where we're
생각합니다.
gathered today, I think it is
오늘
very
이 자리가
meaningful that we are
광주의
here.
미래를 여는
I hope that this discussion will
새로운 전환점이 되기를
become
바라겠습니다.
an inflection point for us to
저는 오늘
move
광주의
forward
새로운
into the
미래를
future of
열어갈
Gwangju.
세 가지
Today, I would
비전을
like to
제시하겠습니다.
propose three
첫째는
visions.
AI와
One
모빌리티로
is
미래 산업을
a cutting-edge
선도하는
technology
첨단
city
기술
leading
도시.
future industries with AI and
분화로
mobility. The
빛나는
second would be
글로벌
a
문화
global
허브
cultural
도시이며
hub city
셋째는 시민이 살기
shining
좋은
with culture, and the
활력
third is a
넘치는
vibrant
도시입니다.
city where citizens all
먼저
live
AI와
well.
모빌리티를
First of all,
토대로
based on
광주의
AI and mobility,
첨단 산업
Gwangju's
기능을
advanced
크게
industrial landscape
바꿔놓겠습니다.
will be
지금
greatly
세계는
changed.
AI
At the
혁명
moment,
시대를 맞아
AI revolution
치열한
is
국가
ongoing
경쟁을
around the
벌이고
world,
있습니다.
and the nations are
AI 기술을
fiercely
선점하는
competing with
국가,
each other. A
AI
country
발전을
that has
선도하는 도시가
an upper hand in
미래의
AI
주역이 될
technology
것이라는
will
데는
become
의심의 여지가
the leader
없습니다.
of the future, and everyone
제가
agrees on this.
2021년
In
6월
2021,
29일 정치
June
참여를
29th,
선언하고
when I announced that I
그 후
would enter
첫
into
번째
politics,
지역
the
방문
first
일정으로
regional
재헌절인
visit
7월
was
17일에
in
광주를 찾았습니다.
July 17th on the Constitutional Day, and that day I visited Gwangju.
곧장 방문한
I
곳이
paid respect at the
AI
Gwangju
발언학교였습니다.
National
우리 청년들이
Cemetery,
AI
and
교육에
then I
매진하는
visited
모습을
AI
보면서
High School in
광주의
Gwangju.
미래가
And as
여기에
I
있다고
looked at
생각했습니다.
the students who were working really
또
hard, I
2021년
knew that our
12월에는
future lies here.
대선
And in
후보로서
2022,
광주 북구
as a
오령동에
presidential
당시 건립 중이던
candidate,
AI 데이터
I
센터를
visited
방문했고
the AI data center
22년 4월
in 2021,
당선자
and in
신분으로
2022,
다시
when I
광주
was
AI
president-elect,
직접
I
방문해서
once again
AI
visited the AI
데이터
data
공사 진행
center
상황을
and looked
점검한 바
at the
있습니다.
progress of the construction of this
AI는
center.
얼마나 많은
AI,
데이터를 축적하고
how much the
이동시키느냐가
data
중요하고
could be accumulated
세계적
and could
수준의
be transferred
데이터 센터를
is
만드는
the
것이
key to its
AI
competitiveness,
산업의
and the
성패를
AI
좌우합니다.
industry,
그런
its success
측면에서
lies here.
직접
And to
현장들을
this,
돌아보니
at this
광주가
backdrop,
착실하게 AI 산업의 토대를
Gwangju is
잘
diligently
가져온 것을 확인할 수
working
있었습니다.
towards this, the
우리 정부가
making the
추구하는
basis for
살기
AI
좋은
industry.
지방 시대의 핵심은
The local
지역이
region
스스로
and
경쟁력이
local
있다고 판단되는 전략 산업을
city
선정하는
era that the
중앙
government
정부가
is
이를
thriving
적극
for,
지원하는 것입니다.
striving for,
광주가
is
AI
in line
산업의
with
도약을
such
위해
support to
이렇게
Gwangju
준비를
and
잘
its
해온
AI
만큼
efforts.
앞으로
Gwangju has
중앙
been
정부도
working very hard to this
최선을
end,
다해서 더
and
큰
therefore the
도약을
central government
뒷받침해야
will
되겠습니다.
support its utmost so that Gwangju can take a greater leap.
AI 산업의 지속
AI
가능한
industry, for
성장을
it to be
무엇보다
able to
중요한 것이
sustainably
인재
grow,
양성입니다.
it is most important
저는
to
지난
nurture
대선 때
talents, and therefore during the election,
인공지능 대표
presidential
도시로
election
만들기 위해
campaign,
AI 영재고
I
설립을 약속드렸습니다.
pledged an AI high school for the gifted, and in
광주에서
2022
제8차
September, at the emergency economy meeting, the AI High School for Gifted will be an annex of the already established Gwangju High School, and I have directed the cabinet to move into this direction. In 2027, the AI High School for the Gifted will be open, and I will make sure myself that it would happen without a hitch.
아울러 이러한 AI
Also,
인프라 기반들을
based
활용해서
on such AI infrastructure, Gwangju will become the center of the autonomous driving future mobility industry ecosystem. Already in Gwangju, we have around 70 or so autonomous vehicle-related materials, parts, and equipment companies and support organizations, as well as Korea Vehicle Institute. And on top of this, when we have AI, the greater synergy will be created. And also during the presidential campaign, Gwangju and Yeongham 47 kilometers long Autobahn superhighway was one of my pledges as well. In March this year at Jeonnam livelihood discussion, I have restated this pledge of mine, and when we have this in earnest, we believe that this could be the test bed for the AI and autonomous driving industry. And this will be, I believe, a great help for the advancement of this industry. And also, Gwangju Special Complex for autonomous driving related materials, parts, and equipment will receive investment of 53.4 billion won. And around Gwangsan-gu and its vicinity, the Gwangju Future Car National Industrial Complex site of 1 million pyong will be established as quickly as possible. And next, we will make Gwangju a global cultural hub city representing the Republic of Korea. Gwangju has Gwangju Biennale and also the National Asian Culture Center and Gwangju National Museum. These are the representative cultural and arts infrastructure, and we could say that Gwangju is the cultural and cultural hub of Korea. First of all, we are going to strengthen the international artistic capacity of Gwangju. Gwangju has its representative event of Gwangju Biennale that has been ongoing for a long time, and for it to shine even more, by 2027 we will invest 118.1 billion won to establish a new Biennale exhibition hall. And also, Gwangju Biennale will receive more support in terms of its promotional activities, and the central government will support in earnest. Also, the Gwangju Sangmu incinerator site, which was formerly an unwanted facility, we are going to build Gwangju Representative Library. Moreover, at this site, by 2028, we are going to invest an additional of 43.6 billion won to build complex cultural community facility. And also, the National Museum of Gwangju will receive 29.9 billion won by next year to build a ceramic culture center. And we are going to encompass Asian ceramic culture, including Sinan underwater relics. And also, with Gwangju's representative attractions and content, Gwangju will discover its own brand and own attractions. The Local 100 project will help make Gwangju and nurture Gwangju. Could have its own brand so that more people will visit Gwangju. And Gwangju will stand at the front to lead the exchanges of cultural and arts exchanges with other other people in other countries.
제대로 활용해서
Making such
지역
infrastructure
고유의
is
매력을
important.
키우고 누구나 찾고 싶은
What is
곳으로
as
만드는
important
것이
is
더
to,
중요한 과제입니다.
and it would be more
특히
important
국립
to
아시아 문화
make
전당은
efforts to
막대한 예산이 투입돼
utilize what we have
귀중한
already
시설인
and making
만큼
it a better one,
투자 효과를 100분 살릴 수 있도록
so that
광주시와 중앙 정부가 힘을
together with
모아야
Gwangju
하겠습니다.
City and
아시아
the
문화
central
전당이
government will
2년
muster
만에 한
our
번
strengths
개최하는
so
비엔날레
that
시즌
Gwangju
외에도
can make
아시아
the best
문화
out
교류의
of the investments
실질적인 허브가 될 수
and
있도록
for Gwangju to become
중앙정부와
the
광주
actual
시민이
hub
머리를
of
맞대 노력해야
cultural
합니다. 중앙 정부도 이를 위한 지원을
cultural
아끼지
aspect.
않겠습니다.
We are going
그리고
to
광주 5대
keep
문화권
cooperation
사업도
together with the
차질 없이
municipal government.
추진되도록
And
지원하겠습니다.
also, we will make sure that the initiatives that are already taking place will advance as
마지막으로
planned.
광주를
And
시민이 살기
last but
좋은
not least,
활력
Gwangju
넘치는
will
도시가
become
되도록
a
육성하겠습니다.
city of vitality
대선 때
where
많은
it is a
관심을
great
받았던
place for people
복합
to live.
쇼핑몰 건립
The
사업이
construction of complex shopping
2027년
mall,
개장을
which is
목표로
scheduled to open in
추진되고 있습니다.
2027,
광주시에
is
간선 급행버스 구축 등
already in
교통
pursuit,
접근성 개선
and
사업을 지원하여 많은
projects to
시민들이
improve transportation
편리하게 이곳을 찾을 수
accessibility
있도록
will be
만들겠습니다.
supported so that many people
또한
can
국민 누구나
have better
어디에
access to the
살든지
city. And also,
공정한
wherever
의료 서비스
we
접근권을
live,
향유할 수
they
있도록
should be
지역
able
필수
to
의료 기반을
have access
확충하는
to
것도
their right to
중요합니다.
medical services, and
광주의
therefore
필수
infrastructure in
의료를
this
책임질
regard is also
번역
important.
중추병원을 육성하고 광주 시민들께서
And
수도권 못지않은 의료
fostering
서비스를
regional
누릴 수
central
있도록
hospitals that will
지역
be
필수
responsible
의료에
for
대한
essential
투자를
medical care in
대폭
Gwangju and Jeonnam
늘리겠습니다.
regions will be made.
작년 봄 남부
Last
지방에
year spring, in the southern region, after 1973, we saw the worst drought. The Gwangju citizens and the central government came together to overcome such a dreadful situation, and such climate abnormalities will continue, and therefore we have to secure a quality and provision of water and drinking water. And Yeongsan River, the water quantity in Yeongsan River will be invested so that it has a properly utilization of its drinking water. In 2003, I stayed at Gwangju and worked here. I was stationed in Gwangju for 2 years, and I have really good memories about Gwangju and Gwangju people. And Mr. Kang Gi-jung, who is the mayor, the governor, I have met him many times, and I know that he is the passionate person for the development of Gwangju. And here we are joined by many Gwangju citizens and people in the arts and cultural area. I hope that this will be a great opportunity for us to discuss good opinions. Thank you.
네, 대통령.
During their annual dialogue on extended deterrence this year, Seoul and Washington addressed a counter-response based on the hypothetical scenario of nuclear weapons-related provocations by Pyongyang to coincide with the U.S. presidential election in November. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil reports.
The fifth meeting of the Extended Deterrence Strategy and Consultation Group, or EDSCG, between South Korea and the U.S. took place in Washington on Wednesday local time. For the first time at the meeting, the two countries conducted a scenario-based discussion on North Korea's nuclear threats to strengthen policy planning and coordination. South Korea's first Vice Foreign Minister Kim Yoon told reporters after the meeting that the EDSCG discussed a range of possible provocations by Pyongyang and responses around the time of the upcoming U.S. presidential election. He said both Seoul and Washington believe a major provocation around that time cannot be ruled out as North Korea continues to enhance its nuclear capabilities and is continuing provocations including jamming GPS signals or sending balloons carrying waste. Kim and Deputy Minister for National Defense Policy Cho Chang-nae led the South Korean delegation, while Undersecretary of State for Arms Control and International Security Bonnie Jenkins and Acting Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Policy Kara Abercrombie led the U.S. delegation. The U.S. Department of Defense released a statement shortly after the meeting and said the U.S. reiterated its ironclad commitment to draw on the full range of its military capabilities, including nuclear, to support extended deterrence for South Korea. The statement added that both sides reaffirmed that any nuclear attack by the DPRK against the ROK will be met with a swift, overwhelming, and decisive response, adding that any nuclear attack by North Korea against the U.S. or its allies is unacceptable and will result in the end of that regime. The EDSCG serves as a key annual forum on security strategy affecting the Korean Peninsula and broader Indo-Pacific. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
And after a halt of about a month, North Korea has resumed its floating of waste-carrying balloons into the southern part of the peninsula. According to the South Korean military, some 420 balloons have been sent across the border between Wednesday night and Thursday morning. Some 20 balloons carrying paper and plastic bottles have landed in Seoul and northern Gyeonggi-do province. The Joint Chiefs of Staff has advised members of the public to refrain from touching these fallen balloons and to report them to authorities. President Yoon has pledged better support for doctors and better access to healthcare for patients. The pledge came during a visit to the Ujeongbu Medical Center in Gyeonggi-do Province back on Wednesday, amid public concerns over staff shortages at emergency care units, especially ahead of the Chuseok holiday in mid-September. He also acknowledged that the current compensation scheme for doctors is inadequate and that there is a regional imbalance in access to quality medical services. This latest visit is the president's 9th in-person call at a medical center since sharing his healthcare reform plan back in February. Meanwhile, the floor leader of the ruling People Power Party, Choo Kyung-ho, has proposed a bipartisan body to promptly pass policies affecting people's daily lives. During his parliamentary address on this Thursday, Choo called for a livelihood legislation fast-track arrangement through which the ruling and opposition parties collaborate to swiftly approve bipartisan bills. He also highlighted the importance of healthcare reform, urging protesting medical students and doctors to return to classrooms and workplaces respectively and to engage in dialogue with the government. And the government has shared the specifics of its pension reform blueprint. And while we are looking at a higher pension contribution rate, the pace of rate rise will vary depending on age. Our Shin Ha-young explains.
The government's pension reform proposal focuses on fairness and sustainability. The Health Ministry on Wednesday announced a plan that includes gradually increasing the pension contribution rate from the current 9% to 13%. However, the pace of increase will vary by age group to ease the long-term burden for the younger generation.
For those in their 50s, who will receive more benefits compared to their contributions, the rate will rise by 1 percentage point annually over 4 years. For those in their 20s, who will contribute the most over a longer period, it will rise by 0.25 percentage points annually over 16 years.
The government also plans to maintain the current gross pension replacement rate, which is 42%, that being the percentage of pre-retirement wages people will receive at the end.
It was originally set to reach 40% by 2028. However, considering public feedback on the need for both financial stability and better retirement income, it will be raised to 42%.
Details of the proposal came after President Yoon pledged to reform the pension system as the country's rapidly aging society faces the possible depletion of pension funds by 2056. Under the plan, the National Pension Fund's deficit would be delayed by 13 years and its depletion by 16 years. The government is also looking at adding a so-called automatic adjustment system, which adjusts pension payout amounts based on factors including population changes and economic conditions. The government plans to extend the birth credit benefit too, which was previously available only from the birth of a second child, to include the first child and apply it immediately upon childbirth. The plan also includes expanding military service credit to recognize the entire duration of mandatory military service rather than the current 6 months. Marking the first government pension reform in 17 years, the proposal is subject to approval by the National Assembly. 신하영, Arirang News.
In other news, the economy shrank 0.2% on quarter during the April to June period this year, noting its sharpest quarterly contraction since the final quarter of 2022. Our An Sung-jin has details.
South Korea's economy contracted in the second quarter compared to the first quarter this year. According to data released by the Bank of Korea on Thursday, the country's gross domestic product from April till June shrunk by 0.2% compared to the previous quarter. It's the first time in 18 months for the on-quarter growth to be negative. This is mostly attributed to the base effect caused by a relatively high GDP growth of 1.3% in the first quarter. An increase in imports compared to exports was also behind the downturn. Production saw a growth of 0.8% as manufacturing for transportation equipment rose. Exports also rose on the back of outbound shipments for automobiles and chemical products. But net exports dropped as imports for petroleum and natural gas products went up. Private spending also saw a sluggish recovery as consumption of goods such as cars and clothing dropped, leading to a fall of 0.2%. Infrastructure and construction investment also fell compared to the previous quarter. Machinery investments, such as for semiconductor manufacturing equipment, decreased, while construction investment, which led the growth in the first quarter with an increase of 3.3%, also fell to 1.7% in the second quarter. Meanwhile, the country's gross national income, the total amount of money earned by people and businesses, was up 0.9% on quarter as net factor income from the rest of the world decreased. However, the real gross national income fell by 1.4%, which the Bank of Korea attributed to a worsening of trade conditions. Net foreign income, which is calculated by subtracting the income sent abroad by foreigners and foreign firms operating within the country from the total income earned by Koreans from foreign sources, also fell compared to the previous quarter. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Hyundai Motor Company is set to surpass a historic milestone this month, that is, the sale of 100 million vehicles. The achievement comes 56 years after the company began domestic sales in the 1960s and 48 years after starting exports in the 1970s. Insiders say Hyundai needs to sell 340,000 cars in September to hit this milestone, a feat that pundits believe is feasible. Hyundai has been noting strong sales in the U.S. market in recent times, with sales for August surging 22% on year. A teenager opened fire at his high school in the U.S. state of Georgia on Wednesday, killing at least 2 teachers and 2 schoolmates in yet another appalling case of gun violence within America's academic arena. Our Lee Seung-jae reports.
As of July 2024, there were 35 incidents of shootings on school grounds and college campuses in the United States. That figure rose on Wednesday in the state of Georgia when a 14-year-old fired at students and teachers at Appalachia High School in Barrow County. 2 students and 2 teachers were killed, and 30 others were wounded in the shooting, and authorities are investigating whether the victims were targeted. Initial reports said just 9 were injured during the shooting, but that figure rose significantly. Police say the teenage shooter, who has been named as Colt Gray, surrendered to authorities quickly after being confronted. The local county sheriff said Gray was cooperating with authorities and would be charged with murder and tried as an adult. As police continue to question the suspect, no motive has been revealed, and it's unknown whether there was any connection between the shooter and the victims. Authorities also say they do not know yet how the shooter was able to obtain the firearm. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland said the U.S. Department of Justice was ready to provide support to the victims and their families, adding he was devastated for the families involved. President Joe Biden also said he was mourning those who were killed, while calling on Congress to pass common-sense gun safety legislation. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, following its inaugural event last year, the World Climate Industry Expo is welcoming participants for a second session in Busan this week, with the focus on opening an era of green energy. Our Lee Soo-jin files this report from the southern port city.
South Korea is moving to further advance its transition into a sustainable, carbon-free society. As part of these efforts, the government is hosting the 2024 World Climate Industry Expo for 3 days in Busan starting Wednesday, under the theme of ushering in a carbon-free energy era with climate technologies. This year's expo is also significant because it's being co-hosted by the International Energy Agency.
The Korean government, working with the IEA hand in hand to put this expo together, and the companies, governments who position themselves rightly in the next chapter of the global energy economy will have an advantageous position.
And true to its theme, the climate technologies of more than 180 companies and government-affiliated organizations worldwide are being showcased. RWE, a German renewable energy company, is in attendance to expand its Korean offshore energy pipeline. Offshore energy involves generating energy from resources located at sea, and RWE is known for its offshore wind technology that harnesses power from water-based wind turbines. South Korea is considered a promising market for international companies like RWE due to its ambitious decarbonization goals.
We feel Korea has a strong need to decarbonize in order to keep an export competitive economy. Many of the Korean companies have already been exporting many different products, whether they be wind turbine towers.
Korean companies have become globally recognized for their climate technology, such as POSCO Holdings with Hyrex or hydrogen reduction steelmaking.
There is a huge focus on developing technology that will help achieve carbon neutrality in the steel industry, which is why many companies abroad are showing interest in our Hyrex technology.
And in the public sector, Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power was chosen in July as a preferred bidder to build nuclear reactors in the Czech Republic. A model of the APR 1400, the basis for the APR 1000 reactor that's part of the Czech deal, was on display at the event. With demand for climate technology expected to continue growing worldwide as nations strive to transition to a more sustainable future, South Korea is expected to emerge as a leader in the sector with advanced technologies like these. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News, Busan.
This past Wednesday, that was September 4th, members of the Taekwondo community here marked Taekwondo Day, an annual occasion that seeks to celebrate the sport and its Olympic debut. Our Chuseok covers the celebration in Mujugun County, which hosts the world's largest Taekwondo training arena. Do take a look.
On Wednesday, a grand ceremony for Taekwondo Day was held at Taekwondo 1 in Mujugun County, Jeollabuk-do Province. Taekwondo, a traditional Korean martial art, was officially introduced as an Olympic sport on September 4th in 1994. Because of this, South Korea has designated the date as Taekwondo Day each year. This year, the ceremony celebrated both Taekwondo Day and the 30th anniversary of its inclusion in the Olympics. Gold medalist Park Tae-jun and Kim Yoo-jin from the Paris Olympics a few weeks ago also participated in the celebrating the day.
I've been here often, so the event felt more relaxed and comfortable for me. I'm also grateful that we were invited to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Taekwondo.
It was so nice to be here because I'm familiar with this place.
Moreover, the first ever 2024 International Virtual Taekwondo Open Championships created by the Taekwondo Promotion Foundation were held. Virtual Taekwondo is a new type of Taekwondo competition that takes place in a virtual space. Players attach sensors equipped with motion tracking technology to their arms and legs with VR equipment and compete as virtual characters in a digital space. Unlike traditional Taekwondo, age and weight classes don't matter in this format. In the championships, 35 competitors from 5 countries, including South Korea, Singapore, and Rwanda, will compete until Thursday. The chairman of the TPF expressed that it envisions a new leap forward through virtual Taekwondo.
September 4th marks 30 years since Taekwondo became an Olympic sport. And our Taekwondo Promotion Foundation is now focused on the next 30 years for Korea.
Lee Da-bin, this year's bronze medalist in the Paris Games, also stated that she enjoyed the unique appeal of virtual Taekwondo through a match at the event.
It felt like a very short time and was less exhausting. I could use various kicks without any hesitation. I think one of the biggest advantages is that players can compete without physically fighting. I believe viewers will find it very entertaining.
The International Olympic Committee decided to create an official esports Olympics, and the first edition will be held in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 2025. South Korea plans to register the virtual Taekwondo as an official sport in the first ever esports Olympics, preparing a new future for the Korean martial art. Chuseok, Arirang News, Buju.
Let's take a look at the latest news in the world now. We begin today in the U.S., where the Justice, State and Treasury Departments announced coordinated action on Wednesday to counter alleged Russian interference in the 2024 U.S. presidential election. The U.S. charged and sanctioned some 10 Russian state media executives while restricting Kremlin-based broadcasters, claiming Moscow is behind what the U.S. calls a widespread election interference campaign. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland accused the state broadcaster RT, formerly known as Russia Today, of paying a Tennessee company $10 million to create and distribute content to U.S. audiences with hidden Russian government messaging. RT Editor-in-Chief Margarita Simonian was listed as one of the 10 people sanctioned for attempting to bring down public trust in our institutions. 2 entities were additionally sanctioned, 32 internet domain names were seized, and the U.S. government has offered a $10 million reward for information on hackers in the group Russian Angry Hackers Did It. White House National Security spokesperson John Kirby said that Russia's program aims to reduce support for Ukraine, bolster pro-Russian policies and interests, and influence U.S. voters, while a Treasury official said that American influencers are being covertly recruited. The Russian state media, RT, responded to U.S. accusations by joking that, quote, 3 things are certain in life: death, taxes, and RT's interference in the U.S. elections. Now to Brazil, where firefighters on Wednesday succeeded in reducing a massive wildfire that has burned for 2 days and destroyed 20% of the national forest of Brasilia, a conservation area outside the country's capital. The fire broke out at the peak of the dry season in an area where over 56 square kilometers of woodland protects springs, which are the source of 70% of Brasilia's freshwater. An official in charge of managing the forest called the fires an environmental crime, but couldn't confirm if the fires were started intentionally. The forest had already been halved in size in 2022 when far-right former President Jair Bolsonaro approved the land for urban development. Consumers in the Middle East are reportedly boycotting Coca-Cola and Pepsi as global Western brands face backlash in the Israel-Gaza conflict. Other American brands such as McDonald's and Starbucks are also facing anti-Israel boycotts, with market share for global brands falling 4% in the first half of 2024 in the Middle East, according to Nielsen IQ. This, however, has fueled an increase in the sales of local sodas. In Egypt, sales of cola brand V7 tripled, including exports in the Middle East and the wider region compared to last year. This contrasts the 7% sales decline for Western beverage brands in the first half of the year across the region, where sales of Coca-Cola in some countries, including Egypt, declined by double-digit percentage points until the end of June. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It felt like summer was making a comeback yesterday under bright skies in the capital. We even woke up to the first tropical night in 9 days this morning. A heat advisory has been expanded to more of the western regions for now, but the east will be a scorcher as well.
Central regions should have 3 to 4 degrees lower daytime highs with 5 to 10 millimeters of showers. Jeju Island could see up to 20 millimeters before all letting up tonight. Rain brings a slight heat relief to Seoul at 29 degrees, which is about 4 degrees lower than yesterday, with spotty rain around mid-afternoon. Meanwhile, southern provinces will be under plenty of sunshine again with very strong UV rays. Now, passing rain is in the forecast in most parts tomorrow, and it seems like this year's summer just doesn't want to let go. We'll be seeing highs in the low 30s through the first half of September. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
Those are the headlines at this hour here in Korea. Coming up next is our daily panel session. Thank you for now.